Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Brittany Waller. I am the graduate assistant for the Office of Family Engagement. We have Michelle Adams, the Family Engagement Liaison. She's also in the room, but she's just not on camera. We also have a special guest today, Laura Darrah she's the Assistant Director for Engagement and Assessment from Residence Life. So everybody say hi to Laura. She is going to be with us as we share some tips for a smooth checkout.
Good
So let's
morning.
go ahead and get started. Um, so a brief overview of the checkout, Laura. Can you talk about like the time and date, some things like
Certainly.
that?
This is for our students specifically in the residence halls. Our buildings will close at 7 p.m. Friday, December 13th. That's the day after finals, and they'll complete on Thursday. Students can really leave anytime if they're done with their finals on Tuesday or Wednesday. They're welcome to head home at that point. But for those who have commitments on campus, 7 p.m. on Friday the 13th is the end date. Students do not have to move out. If they're coming back in the spring semester, we recommend they take home any valuables and important items like prescriptions, ID, etc. Because once our building's locked, they will not have access to them until we reopen in January. It's also worth noting for those who have fish, they'll want to take home pets too. We do shut the temperature down to save energy on campus while the university is closed, and fish don't like it when it's about 55 degrees in that regard. Our buildings reopen on Saturday, January 4th at 10 a.m. Students are welcome to come back anytime after that. It is worth noting that meal plans do not start until noon on Sunday. So if they do come back on Saturday, they should bring some groceries with them. And then mail service will resume on Monday, January 5th when classes start. While the university is closed, there'll be no access to the residence halls. We do change the locks and turn off the ID readers. So once they do go home on Friday, they really need to make sure that they have everything they need for winter break, since they will not have access back into the buildings.
So what should students do to prepare? What type of things should they do in their residence halls?
Number one thing they should do is focus on finals. That's important that they take care of that and in the school year academically as they want to. Otherwise, pack up, like I said, the essential things that they're going to need over break. If there are any valuables that they want to take home, like their tablets, et cetera, that will be important. Take out their trash and recycling so we don't invite any pests in over winter break. Make sure windows are closed and locked and lights are off. Our staff after Friday will go through student rooms doing health and safety inspections. That means 2 staff members enter the room, so there's always a witness there. We'll just do a quick look around to make sure there's no food left out, windows are shut, lights are off. There's also a professional staff member with them who personally locks every door, so we know that every door was relocked after staff had entered. Those are the primary things. And then if the student is not planning to return, because we do have some students who are studying abroad, decide to transfer for different reasons, head home. If you are planning to leave the university, then you will need to check out of your residence hall. In that regard, you're packing up all of your personal belongings to take home. And then once your room is clean, all of your side is empty, you'll contact one of the resident assistants, the RAs, and they will check you out. Essentially, we go back through the room for kind of a mini inspection, make sure that students do their mail forwarding, et cetera, and get their room keys. Students should never just leave and give their room key to a roommate.
What about when should students expect to hear this information?
We already have posters that will be going up on the floors this week that they can look at. There'll also be a floor meeting sometime this week with the RA where they'll go over some basic details. And then there's an email that all students will receive this week to talk about what to do if they are coming back to Western, if they are leaving Western, and how to cancel housing contract and check out, or what to do if their roommate leaves. That's kind of our other scenario that happens is sometimes I'm staying, but my roommate leaves. So if a roommate leaves, we ask that the remaining resident keep the other half of the room completely open, drawers empty, half the closet available, the room clean, so the new roommate has a welcoming environment when they come in January. If a student is going to get a new roommate, the existing resident will receive an email probably in January before we reopen that has the name and contact information of their new roommate so they can reach out. We know from experience students still sign up for housing over winter break, whether they're coming back for study abroad or they're new to the university. So we find waiting until January when we come back to do those last few assignments and notify January tends to work best.
Do you have any tips for how families can help with this process?
Support your student with finals first. That's really what they need to focus on, is finishing exams, and then get ready to head home. I think letting them know they don't need to bring everything home. Know that your student is going to want to come home and eat good food and sleep for maybe 3 days straight. Give them a little flexibility to do that. I think that's important. Otherwise, just know if they say, I'll be ready at 11, be patient. Usually that means 11:30. We find it takes folks a little bit longer to get out of here. Watch the weather too for deciding when's the best time to pick up your student. Parking in front of the residence halls is different when we have folks go home for winter break. When you came for move-in, we changed all the parking spots in front of the building to an unloading zone. They're back to the regular parking permits right now, so you'll need to plan on hitting those 30-minute slots that are there. Following things, if it's a handicap accessible spot or reserve spot, you could potentially get tickets for that. That's one of the reasons we encourage students that if you're finished with finals on Tuesday, go ahead and go home Wednesday or Thursday. Don't wait for Friday, because you'll have a lot more traffic on Friday, and those fewer spaces will be available right away for parking.
Are there options for busing to the train station or bus station for that break? Do you know?
There are the regular transportation options. Kalamazoo will be there. So obviously the city bus will take students to the train station. A lot of times for the holidays, Amtrak will do special discounts, so that's worth looking into. But they can take Uber, they can take a taxi, they can take a bus to the train stations, as well as they'll have that transportation option for coming back in January.
Okay. What about bikes? A lot of students use bikes. Are they allowed to keep their bike on campus? Do they have to take it home? How does that work?
Bikes are welcome to stay on campus. It's a student's individual decision if they want to leave it outside during winter, or if they want to bring it into their room or take it home. But they're not required to remove their bikes.
Okay. What about refrigerators in the rooms? Should they unplug them? Should they leave them plugged? How does that work?
Refrigerators in the room. They do not need to be unplugged, but I do recommend check food that's in there. If something's going to spoil over break, go ahead and toss it out now. It's never fun to come back to funk in the room. In that regard, some students do choose to unplug it and be sustainable and defrost everything beforehand, but nothing is required to be unplugged when they leave.
Okay. Those are all of the tips that we have from Laura, but the next step coming back next semester is housing sign up. Laura, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, housing sign up begins in January. We have several different options for students, because it's important to us that their housing choices evolve with them as they go through their first, second, third, and fourth year at Western. Residence hall sign up is actually what will start first. Students who are in their current room actually have kind of priority rights to that room. So January 21 through January 23, students who want to come back to their same space can sign up for that. And then on January 24, students can choose any residence hall room on campus. So that's kind of nice. If I live in, say, Garno-Harvey this year, but I'm interested in moving over to Zimmerman next year, I know that I can start any time on the 24th. Probably helpful to note that if you are interested in the sign-up information, on the housing website under the navigation link information is a calendar, and then under that calendar is a section just with all the sign-up dates. That's the easiest way to keep track of that. So residence hall sign-up will start January 21st. Staying in your own room will be January 21 through 23, and then to move to any residence hall room on campus, that'll start again January 24. It's important to note that if your student is in a single room right now, they must claim it again January 21 through 24. Otherwise, any other student can snag that space. So if they want to stay in their same single room, that's my best advice for that. For our students interested in our apartments, we are excited. Our new Arcadia Flats apartments are opening up this fall. Arcadia Flats and Western View, those are our two most popular complexes. They actually have a lottery process. So starting December 6th, any student can request a lottery number. The lottery number does not guarantee them a space, nor does it require them to sign up. It's just, I want to have that opportunity should I decide once we get to February. So starting December 6th, they can get a lottery number. And then on February 3rd, they actually will be able to go in and choose a bedroom and a unit in either Arcadia or Western View in that regard. So that process will happen if they have friends they want to live together. They do what we call a roommate group. So let's say you and I want to live in a 2-bedroom apartment. We can create the roommate group to link us in the system. And then whoever gets that first opportunity to sign up claims a space for both of us. So it's kind of a nice way. You don't have to wait and hope a space stays open in that regard. Our other apartment complexes, Goldsworth Valley and Stadium Drive, their sign-up process starts a little later. That will be on March 30th. So it's kind of nice that if you're not able to get a space for Arcadia or Western View, you still have another option for apartments. They're not all gone on those same days. I will advise if your student's interested in Arcadia Flats or Western View, those spaces go fast. So they'll want to sign up, get that lottery number. They'll get an email with an assigned time to choose a room. And said they'll go pretty quickly. We're pretty certain on that. More directions will be emailed to your students specifically about all the different sign-up processes, as well as there'll be posters in the residence halls and our staff available to ask questions about that. So we find that normally about 35% of our students living with us this year come back for another year, whether it's in the residence halls or the university apartments. We also have something exciting happening.
Okay.
So a lot of our students who stay in the residence halls another year like to have a single room. And we want to make sure that students can afford a single room. So we've always had our GPA advantage, meaning if you have a certain GPA at the end of spring semester, your cumulative GPA, you can get that single room at a discounted rate. We actually are creating another discount, a separate rate. So single rooms will have rate number 1, and then a student who is coming back for another year and chooses a single room, they'll actually have rate number 2, which will be about a 25% discount automatically, regardless of your GPA. So it's kind of an advantage for our students returning. And then because we're making singles more affordable for everyone, anyone who is taking advantage of that GPA advantage, it was a 3.0 GPA or higher. That is shifting up to be a 3.3. So students who have a 3.3 cumulative GPA at the end of spring semester who have chosen a single room, they'll get that single room at the double room rate, which is a savings of over $3,000.
That's a really big savings.
Students have asked for more single rooms. We want to make sure they're affordable. So now they'll have, no matter what, every student will have a different rate coming back for a second, third, or fourth year for a single room.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Do you have any other tips that you think people would want to know or need to know?
I'm thinking not so much about the housing perspective, but coming home for winter break is sometimes stressful for our students. They've been living on their own, making their own choices, and so folding back into the family environment, if there are, it's good to talk about things like curfews, bedtime, what you need from the family environment. In that regard, it's a lot easier to fall back into old habits, but they're not the same person they were when they left a few months ago. So kind of get to know them with where they are, share their excitement about their experiences this year, talk about your needs. So, socks aren't on the living room floor and such. That's my daughter. But also know they're a little bit more grown up and much more responsible than when they left. And so give them the courtesy of that and the freedom of the adults they've become.
We recently shared an article of the month about the first big trip home. So if people are interested in knowing what that's about, they can check out that article. From the perspective of living off campus, if students need to know how to prepare to leave their apartment, they should talk to like their landlords or people who work in their front office. Often check your emails. I live off campus apartments and we've already received 2 or 3 emails about how to leave. And unplugging things, taking our pets, taking out trash, it's some of the same things, but pay attention to those things so they know how to prepare.
Any housing operation is going to send information to students. Housing for Western only sends it to the Western student address, so it's great to remind them. And all of our posters that we put up with information remind students, go check your email for more details and directions. And that'll be for the buildings closing as well as for housing sign-up should they choose to stay on campus.
And that's pretty much for everything too. Students should definitely be checking their Western email. They're going to get a lot of emails these next few weeks and over break about how to prepare for the spring, and keeping up with those things will help them to be less overwhelmed once they come back to campus in the spring.
Correct. If your student does decide not to return to campus but thought they were, just know that they will not be able to check out of the residence halls until we reopen on January 4th. We sometimes get those questions of finances or decided to transfer or I'm delaying a semester. They won't be able to come back while the university is closed, which is from December 24 through January 1. Everyone will reopen on January 2. So they'll be able to come on January 4th to check out.
Is it the same process for students who decide that their roommate situation isn't the best? They make that conversation over the winter break.
Right now we are freezing any room moves because in these next 2 weeks it needs to be about wrapping up the semester, not changing rooms. So if a student wants to move rooms, in January we do give 10 business days for any student to come back or to be able to move out, so we know where our spaces are available. and then they can work with the building supervisor of the building they want to live in, whether it's a different room in their same building or if they want to see if space is available someplace else. They can just go and let them know they're interested. And then once we're through the second week of school, we'll open it up for those moves to happen.
Okay. Well, why don't we wait and see if we get some questions?
Yeah, I'd love to have some questions, anything related to housing or dining.
When are people able to sign up for dining? Is it the same time?
New students coming in, they will sign up for dining when they choose their room.
Okay.
So that'll happen in the next couple of days. Students who are currently with us, if they want to change their meal plan, they will have the flexibility to do that during the month of January, and they'll do that through Dining Services website. Sometimes as your class schedule changes, when you can eat, who's around to eat with, suddenly shifts, and you may find you want more or less for food flexibility, particularly as you've got a semester down and you know your pattern. So you can change your meal plan once during January. If they want to no longer have a meal plan, students should be aware that only 2 buildings have that flexibility, since if you live in the residence halls, a plan is required. Those exceptions are Henry Hall and Britton Hadley Hall.
Okay.
So if students decide they don't want to do a meal plan spring semester, if they do not live in one of those 2 buildings, they will need to move to one of those 2 buildings.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
We try to make it pretty easy for going home. It's about going home, take your valuables, definitely double check prescriptions, IDs. Occasionally we get calls of, I left my passport, I need to be able to fly. So just be aware our staff goes on vacation during winter break as well. That's why we don't have access to our buildings all the time. So being prepared, and maybe when you come pick them up, give them that checklist of, do you have A, B, C, and D that are important?
Doesn't look like we're getting any questions, so we're gonna go ahead and close it out. And thanks, Laura, for joining
You're
us,
welcome.
being our special guest. This was really fun.
And feel free to follow up with any comments or directly email us if you do have questions. We can respond to those.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.